What's up? I've never done anything like this in my life. I'm actually kind of embarrassed to be doing this, but at the same time, I am who I am, so at the same time, I don't care. I mean, when I say I'm embarrassed, I'm not really embarrassed in the aspect of that I care what people think. It's just that I never thought that I would be making a video talking about why I'm depressed, but I got into a point where, I realized I'm depressed, and I'm not. The thing about, people who aren't depressed or whoever never suffered from depression, I guess sometimes they just think people are depressed or crazy, or they don't realize that they're depressed. But yeah, you can realize that you're depressed, and I am depressed, so I realized I was gonna make a video and just talk about my depression, and maybe this will help, maybe it won't, but I do. It's a couple of things I'm depressed. Actually, I'm depressed about a lot of things, and I am thinking clearly, and I do have. I'm aware of how I feel, and I'm able to verbalize. I'm able to communicate it, but that's still not helping as far as the things that's making me feel the way I feel. And the reason I feel the way I feel, I think it's a lot to do with the perception of how I see things. And what I can't figure out is it the things that I'm studying? Is it confirming things that I already know, or is it making me realize things that I never know? Because a lot of the way my mind works, I have certain images that come up in my head or certain patterns of the way I see things, but then I'll go do a lot of research to try to find out, why I'm thinking the way I'm thinking, and the answers that I get give me what I'm looking for. But sometimes I'm wondering if I'm taking it too far in my research, if I'm getting information overload, because I find so much good information that helps me realize why I do the things that I do. But at the same time, sometimes knowing isn't always a good thing, because sometimes you don't want to know. It's like, I'm the type of person that I believe that I like to help people. I like to, I got a lot of information. I study tons of information about all types of different subjects. I run websites. I do camera work. I do all types of programming. I know how to fix computers. I do all types of stuff. I do life coaching. Believe it or not, I'm depressed and I do life coaching, but I also do tarot cards, psychic readings. I'm not like a Miss Cleo type dude, do psychic readings, nothing like that. I really do it for myself. I really don't do readings for other people. I really just do it for myself, to learn more about myself. And it does help me in understanding why people do the things that they do, and help seeing patterns in people's actions. And the more I study this, the more I start to see that people are just a sum total of what their mind tells them. You can't escape what's in your mind. You can't escape what your mind tells you to do. And sometimes people are so predictable. I share a lot of information. I network with all types of people from all walks of life. And one thing I've learned is that everybody wants to be right. Everybody just wants to believe that they're right. And, sometimes the cost of being right isn't worth the means. And that's kind of why one of the reasons with this particular video that I want to talk about is, me being the type of person I am. I study numerology. I study the signs, tarot, stuff like that. I mean, some of it's true, some of it's not, because I'm the type of person to believe, even though a lot of stuff is true, you always can form your own will. You're not trapped in a horoscope. You're not trapped to a certain set of cards and things like that. I think everybody makes their own destiny. So with that being said, I think that the type of things that I'm studying is not it's not traditional, but you take it with a grain of salt. Basically, that's what I'm saying. It's not something that's definite. I don't think that anything in the regard is definite. But what I have learned about myself is that like my birthday is on Valentine's Day, which is it's an air sign, which is the card that corresponds to that is the Five of Swords, which is because my birthday is 14, which is 1 plus 4 is 5. So, and I'm an air sign, which is Aquarius, so that would be 5 of Swords. And the 5 of Swords card, I'm gonna bring this up on my tablet so I can show you. This is the 5 of Swords. That's what it looks like. You see the guy standing there, and then you see the two guys walking off, and they've dropped their swords. And this looks like it was supposed to be a fight or some type of duel, but apparently this guy has outsmarted and outdone his opponents. Can you see that? To the point they've given up and walking away. And you see he's picking up their swords, and he's holding their swords. And you see the water's real intense and the sky is dark. And he has this little smile on his face. And this is the card that symbolizes that, you know, this guy, he's overconfident in the sense that he knows that he was going to win the battle. To them, it wasn't even a battle. They've given up. And he's isolating himself. He's not aware that he's isolating himself. And these people, not necessarily his enemies, they could have even been his friends. You know, it's up to your own interpretation as far as what you think these guys are. But they may have been enemies, they may have been friends. This may not necessarily been a real fight. It may have just been a spar, like a verbal spar or verbal, you know, back and forth. But he's so overconfident in his stance that he's isolated himself, and they've given up and they just walked away and say, hey, you know what, I don't want to deal with this guy no more. You know, he has a victory, but he's really taking a loss. That's what this card means. Even though he's won this fight, he's really lost because he's isolating himself. And that's kind of how I feel, because like I said, I study a lot of information, and I speak from a point of sometimes with judgment, which means, you know, if you know somebody's about to come over your house and rob your house, and I tell you, hey, somebody's about to come over and rob your house, and then you let the people come in there and rob your house, then I'm gonna be like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, I'm the type of person that will look at a situation like that, like, man, you crazy. Like, you know, I'm a judge you. I can't help it. You know, I try not to do that. Like, I say this to my wife a lot. I say, you know, you got two types of people. Like, if I walk out of this door every day, if I walk outside every day and I trip and fall down the stairs every day, I'm just tripping and falling down the stairs every day. You got two types of people. One type of person will say, man, what the hell is wrong? You know, eventually by the 4th or 5th time you done fell down the stairs every day, they're gonna say, man, what the hell is wrong with you? Why you keep falling down the stairs? Are you crazy? Are you slow? Like, what the hell is wrong with you? And then you got the other type of people who just literally could come outside, help you clean up, help you get up, and just, you know, clean you off and send you on your way every day. And they'll continuously do this without even stopping and asking, what the hell is wrong with you? You know, I'm not that type of person. I'm the type of person that's gonna go off. Eventually, if I see you falling downstairs every day making the same mistakes over and over again, eventually I'm gonna go off. You know, that's just the type of person I am. So, what I've learned is that just like in this card, in this picture of this guy, that's where I'm at, because, you know, I got answers. The stuff that I study is absolute. You know, I wouldn't say absolute, but it's good information. Symbols. You know, when you see a symbol like this, and I'm aware that this is what I'm going through, it helps me know what I'm dealing with. And, you know, certain times when even with my friends, I'll refer to the cards, or I'll tell them, hey, you know, this is what your situation is, and it gives you instant clarity. But a lot of the same times, it's hard to accept the truth of the situation. And that's what I've learned. Even in my situation that I'm in now, I've learned that, hey, you know, even though you have the answers, that doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, it's going to help. You know, being overconfident, having all the answers, being a know-it-all. A lot of times people don't like to deal with nobody like that. People like somebody who can just kind of, you know, keep the spirits up. You know, and sometimes having all of the answers isn't always the best thing. And that's kind of where I'm at this point in my life, because I tell you, I don't know if I can make this too long, but I saw an episode of Star Trek once where Dr. Spock had landed on a planet with, some of the other crew, and instantly, like, two of the guys had got killed, and they couldn't get off of the planet because the ship that they had landed on was messed up, and they had to get rid of weight off of the ship in order to get it to come up because they were on reserved energy. So Spock suggested that they get rid of the two bodies that had died, and the other crewmen saw this as cold on his part. Like, man, how you just gonna leave these people down here on this planet? We don't know where we're at. And Spock was like, well, if you want to get back up to the main ship, we got to get rid of these bodies. It's not an emotional situation. He was looking at it like the emotion was getting in the way. And the crew looked at him like, he wasn't necessarily fit to be a proper captain because he was lacking a certain emotional element. But he was seeing it like, hey, if you want to get out of here, we got to leave these bodies here. He didn't have no emotion in regards to it at all. And eventually he got up into the atmosphere, and by the time they got up, the Enterprise had left. The ship that was supposed to go back, they had left. So Spock was going in orbit around the planet hoping that the main ship was going to see them, but they weren't. So what he did, he said, you know what, forget it. He threw the main fuel. They only had so much fuel anyway to even get up. So he took the rest of the fuel and he just threw it out the ship, which caused an explosion, which was insane, actually. But the Enterprise actually saw the explosion, and they were like, oh, there they go. So they beamed them back, and they were able to make it onto the ship. So, but when they asked about it, they said, man, why did you blow up the fuel? Why didn't you just keep rotating and hoping that the Enterprise was going to see us? That would have been the logical, thing to do. Spock's a logical person. He don't deal with emotion. He don't have emotional outbursts. So he said, well, given our situation, yeah, the logical thing to do was just, reserve the fuel. That's a completely insane idea to throw the fuel out the window. That's insane. That's like almost suicide. But, the only thought that would trigger that is an emotional response to say, hey, I'm about to die. I only got so much gas. I'm about to run out of gas and fall back onto the atmosphere and die. So, survival caused him to have an emotional response and do something that would normally, under normal circumstances, would be irrational. But in this particular situation, it made perfect sense. However, he still had to go into the emotional nature itself in order to come to that conclusion, because that's not a normal conclusion somebody will go to, is to throw the gas out the window, and basically kill yourself if they don't see the explosion. But the plan did work, and I used that particular episode as a scene to say that's a very powerful episode of Star Trek to me. And I only started watching Star Trek because my dad, when he died, I promised him that I was going to watch every episode of Star Trek, and it was one of the best things I had ever did in my life, and I really regretted that I waited so long to watch it. But that particular episode I used as a reference point to myself to understand that, because Spock, he even said it himself in this particular episode. I wish I knew the name of the episode, but he said, from the moment they landed on this planet, every situation he got in, he was thinking from a logical standpoint, like, logically reserve the food, reserve the water, attack this way. They got attacked, they had got ambushed in one way, and the way that he was trying to respond and attack back was all logical. It was a logical thing to do. From every situation that life was throwing at him, he responded in the most logical and reasonable fashion. And still, every idea he came up with did not work. And he even said it, like somewhere in the middle of toward the middle of the end of the episode, he said, man, this is crazy. He said, I've responded the most logical, the most reasonable way to every one of these episodes, and I'm still losing this battle. And he was just fascinated by this idea. And that's how I feel right now. It's like, when I look back on all the stuff I've done, I run my website, hoodx.com. I got another website, corporatealgorithm.com. I got a lot of things that I've done in my life, as far as even my house is paid off, my car is paid off. I'm still pretty young. I just had my first son. I'm totally independent. I'll probably be able to retire in the next 5 or 10 years. Most people in my situation would be happy. And I feel just at a point where I'm isolated, you know, and that's the thing. A lot of the marketers and a lot of people online, a lot of people who spend a lot of time online, especially like on Facebook and social media sites, and even marketers who try to build networks and stuff like that, they spend a lot of time by themselves just researching and studying information. And you feel isolated because there's certain people out there that you want to talk to, or you want to just share information with, you know, face to face, or just talk and just have a normal interaction with, and you can't, and you would just be isolated, you know, and that's how I feel. It's like I got all this information and all of this, what a lot of people call knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and application too, but you know, I do a lot of the stuff alone, and that's what, when I look at that card, the Five of Swords, that's what it's showing me, because that's my life card, you know, Five of Swords. Like I say, I take it with a grain of salt. I don't believe anything is definite. I don't believe it's absolute, but I see myself going through this over and over again. Like this situation, I'm always getting into it with my family members. I'm always getting into it with my friends, and I stand alone, you know. But when I look at how far I've came, you know, I started when I had nothing, you know, and now I got my own TV show, I got my own website, I got my own, you know, I do my own videos, I record my own music, you know, I'm not in debt, I'm not broke, you know, I'm not rich, but I'm definitely not broke. I got a little money saved up, you know, I got my family, I got my son, but I still feel isolated. I still feel like I'm by myself. And I'm starting to ask myself, you know, should I just like learn to be by myself, or should I, you know, really try to ignore my intuition and my logic and my reason, and just, you know, try to learn to open myself up emotionally. But it's hard to, you know, open yourself up emotionally to people, because, you know, you do stuff for people, you do them favors and stuff, and people fuck you over all the time. And, you know, I've been through that so many times where I've learned to just depend on myself. And, you know, I'm at a point where it's like, you know, I stand alone. I've got everything up to this point, everything I wanted in life, everything that I wanted, I've had it up to this point in my life. And like now I just feel alone, you know. And like I think about like Robin Williams when he committed suicide. The whole week before I seen him committing suicide, I kept seeing this meme up there was saying, you know, I used to think that the worst thing was to be alone, but it's not. The worst thing is to be with a whole group of friends and family and still feel alone. And like that really had touched me, because it was exactly how I felt. And then, you know, he ended up killing himself a week later. And I never thought, you go back to the beginning, I said at the beginning of this video, I never thought that I'd make a video like this. I never thought that I would feel this way. But that's why I'm depressed. That's why I made this video. It's a lot of people ask me, man, why are you depressed? Why you talk the way you talk? Well, you know, this is why. So, and this is just one video. I don't know if, you know, maybe I'll make another video talking about this, but, you know, I'm at a point now, I feel more comfortable talking to a camera than talking to real people. Because, you know, people don't understand. People want to tell you what they want to tell you. Like I've learned, like if people call me and they'll talk to me, like people call me up on the phone, and like they won't even ask, like they'll ask me questions, but like it'll be like 5-6 minutes into the conversation, they'll finally ask me, well, you know, why are you depressed? You know, when people call me, 9 times out of 10, they call me to talk, to hear their self-talk. You know, the advice that they give me, they don't really try to understand, like the things that I've been studying, the things that I've been researching, you know, my show, my website, you know, people don't even know. Like the people in my family, they don't know, they don't be on my website, they don't know what I study, they don't know what I'm about, or none of that, you know. So, you know, time will tell whether or not, you know, I choose to be around or not. So in the meanwhile, that's why I'm depressed. Peace.